Chief Dr. Law Mefor, you're welcome to Njenje Media TV.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
Thank you very much for accepting to join us. Your recent article titled Hunger Protest, Igbo Silence is a Louder Protest. What informed that, sort of response that you gave to Usman Yusuf, Professor?
I was torn between issuing a response to him and ignoring him altogether. But I felt that going by the man's antecedents, of late he has sort of become a northern star, a champion of sorts, and strictly for the interest of the North, particularly the Muslim Fulani. And he picked on the Igbo ethnic group and demanding to know why the ethnic group didn't join in the recent hunger protests and the strikes across the country. I felt it wasn't done in good faith because he was in the Buhari government. He was the national, health commission. He was the head there for at least 4 years, and he was there when Buhari carried out all his nepotistic appointments. Promoting the ethnic group, the ethnic stock to which Professor Usman Yusuf himself belongs. He said nothing. I said he was there. He didn't do anything to ensure justice for all, and he is now worried that the Igbos are not joining protests. Why would he be worried that they are not joining protests now? We don't have to join any protests, and for me, this is a different kind of protest. Igbos have been suffering, and there is nothing new today compared to what harrowing experiences the Igbo ethnic stock in Nigeria have undergone since the Civil War. And there is no need for it, no need for any joining of any protest. And particularly, the man didn't raise that observation in good faith. In other words, he is trying to incite the Igbos to join the protest. And such a protest in history, the Igbos have often ended up at the receiving end. We saw it with the NSAS. Professor Usman Yusuf was the executive secretary of the National Health
Insurance. Health Insurance.
The commission. So he was there for at least 4 years under Buhari, and that was the time Buhari declared the Igbos a dot in the circle, and he never raised a voice. The challenges such, but of course, it is un-African to be talking while you're eating. So we believe it was natural for him not to say anything then. But if he could keep quiet then, when the Igbos were against all conventions, laws, and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, relegated, eliminated from everything, and it didn't matter to him. Why should it matter to him now that the Igbos are not protesting in the way and manner he chose? And again, like I said, for me, Igbos have been protesting in their own way. And you protest in your own way, and it gets to a point when you are totally ignored, you become ignored to such a suffering. If you go back from the foundation of the problem of Ndigbo in Nigeria, started all the way from the Civil War, the way the Civil War was prosecuted by General Gowan, it was very brutal, for me, homicidal, genocidal, not homicidal, genocidal. And there is a proof of this. If you go to genocide index, you will see that it's listed as the 14th world most brutal dictator. I didn't write that. It's out there. And why was Gowan so listed? He ended that through the way and manner he prosecuted the Civil War. And after the war, the Igbos were kept out of everything. You should remember that after the war, all the bank accounts that Igbos had, regardless of what you had there, if you could show proof that you had an account in the bank, you get 20 pounds. If you couldn't show any proof, you don't get anything. So even those who lost their documents through the war, during the war, that couldn't show evidence that they had any lodgements in the banks, they didn't get anything. And of course, you do know that majority of the Igbos were not banked or even bankable. So possibly up to 90% of the surviving Igbo adults didn't get anything to start life again. So you can see that. And in the war ended in 1970, January 13, I suppose. And if you fast forward, in 1994, when Igbos had nothing, there was a indigenization decree. And all the foreign assets were sold off, and those who had access to funds. But Igbos were not part of it because they didn't have any money to draw. That is a very harrowing experience. The likes of Professor Yusuf, they are aware of these experiences. Then he continues. You will see all the state creation process to date, how the Igbo East is the only zone in Nigeria that has 5 states, while the rest have 6 and 7. Northwest, where Professor Yusuf comes from, has 7 states, while the Southeast has only 5. It doesn't stop there. The issue of local government is even as serious as the deficit of a state that the Southeast suffers. If you do the comparative analysis, you will see that the Southeast is additionally suffering from a deficit of about 80 local governments. And don't forget that local governments and states are the basis for revenue allocation, government appointments, recruitment, and all that, ambassadorial and ministerial. These are state-based. And if you go to elective offices, to the National Assembly, Senate, and House of Reps, Senate particularly is predicated on the equality of states. In other words, where the Southwest, enjoys representation, the Northwest enjoys representation of up to 21 senators. The Southeast has only 15, based on the Constitution. So you can see that the marginalization of the Southeast is real, is constitutional, is structural. And the erudite professor is aware of this. And he has never raised his voice in support of equity, social justice. And he is now calling the Igbos to join a protest protest in the manner that he wants it. Occupy the streets and possibly join in the looting of the vehicles and all that. At the end of the day, say is that the will bear the brunt. They are always short end of it. When they stimulate this kind of violent protests, at the end of the lungs, that will do maximum damage in an attempt to create the so-called impact, we end up looting the Igbo shops. They will leave government establishments and face the Igbo business. So why should the Igbos be part of such a protest? I do believe that what men like is not creation of the nation and all saying there is nothing Tinubu is doing. There are was not predicted. And he was part of the people that brought the Tinubu to power. And Tinubu made it clear that they will continue from where Buhari stopped. So, what is new? What is surprising in the policies that Tinubu is pursuing? All they need to do is that those of them that brought Tinubu to power should run around him and they prevail on him to the decisions he took that brought about two major economic policies, the Naira flotation, and they may be good policies, but the way and manner they were implemented is a no. That is what we expect him to be looking at. How to get the president to revisit those policies. The Naira has to be pegged. The fuel pump price to be pegged. And you cannot float the Naira and remove fuel subsidy at the same time.
Having listened to everything you said, in your intervention, you mentioned that if there is any protest, that Igbo shops will be touched. Doesn't that...
Yes.
Are the Igbo shops not going to be touched even when they do not join the protest and the protest happens? Because it appears that there is a common denominator. But whenever such happens, that's the likelihood of what is going to happen.
Yeah, it's better not to be part of destroying your livelihood. For me, you know, again, the impact will be minimal when the Igbos take precautionary measures. The day of protest, you lock up your shop and stay at home. Yes, what I recommend. You know, so if they break into a locked shop, it becomes a clear criminality. You know, so that's it. Because the protesters would leave facilities, government offices, government officials, and face Igbo shops. You know, so I don't see why the Igbos should participate in such a madness. That's how I say it. Because it's orchestrated to pursue. Yeah.
The people are hungry. The masses are protesting. Yes. And you are saying, as a result of what has happened in Ndigbo previously, that you are advising them not to join, which is in line with the statement issued by Ohaneze Ndigbo President Chief Dr. Emmanuel Iwanyanwu. That means you are aligning totally with the position taken by Ohaneze Ndigbo.
Outside, I am totally in support of the position of Ohaneze on this. And they re-echoed most of my sentiments. And that's a fact. We have been protesting. We are familiar with suffering. There is nothing new. In fact, whoever reads the literature of the Biafra War will get to see my point. There's no suffering today that will match what the Igbos have been through already. So it's like one who is already in the code before the breakout of Hamatan. So the Igbos are familiar with this kind of suffering, and there is no need for them to demonstrate anything, because there's nothing to demonstrate. There's nothing to demonstrate against, as far as I am concerned, because they've been through much more serious harrowing experience since the war through to the present time. And in the last 8 years, we all saw what the Igbos went through in the hands of the Buhari presidency, who declared them a dot in the cycle, inconsequential. And they treated them as such, looked away while insecurity ravaged the Southeast, he looked away and didn't take any serious measures to ensure that the Southeast was secure. We saw him go to the extra mile to go and kidnap, because that's the word, kidnap Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya. He brought him back here to worsen the insecurity in the Southeast. That was what brought about the issue of unknown gunmen, exacerbation of the Biafra struggle, and the general insecurity that has been unleashed in the Southeast. What could be worse than what the Igbos suffer in every Monday they sit at home? Is that not a protest? They have been on that protest of sit at home since Nnamdi Kanu's kidnap, what you call extraordinary rendition from Kenya. They have been into that as we speak. Sit at home is still active in the Southeast. Other part of the country undergoes that, and you still want them to run the streets. Let others, because Igbos are already protesting every Monday, whether you not sit at home. That is protest. Is so Professor Yusuf should simply leave us alone and go back to where he had his past and look for his cloth.